Hello, hello, and let's do our intro. Yo, yo, yo. Don't spoil this for me. I'll try not to call. I'll try not to, but I'm super jazzed. I just saw the Scream movie. Um, so I'm gonna hang out tonight. I didn't plan anything. I didn't message any of my creator friends per se. Do have one in the back of other people, but I want more people here before we can do that. But I wanted to talk comics, talk about what I love. I may if this doesn't happen, I may just finish my Coins of Judah script tonight because I got to get that. But I want to say hi. I love you. I just got back for Scream. Okay, I'm gonna leave, love you. I will do spoiler warnings, Cole, so you can hang around. Um, but yeah, it's an exciting night. We had a good night. I got to hang out with some friends. I've sent the invite out. If you're watching this and you're a comic creator and you want to come hang out with me, don't have to talk about Scream. We can talk about whatever you would like. There's some really cool stuff going on in the world. So yeah. So how are you? How is everybody? Is everyone having a good night? Did you guys do anything cool, dude? This week's comics were friggin' great. I don't know if you guys read anything. Like there was some amazing stuff that came out. I really liked the new Amazing Spider-Man. I can't wait to see where that goes. It's the first time I've been excited about that in a little bit. I watched. What else did I read? I read Killcella. I really like where that's going. So I'm really excited about that. I heard the fourth issue is coming out next week. What else? What else did I read this week? I'm trying to think. I read so many things and they were all good. What the fuck did I read? Come on, tell me what came out, guys. I can't remember. Not Batman. I'm really liking the Batman run by Chip. I'm liking where that's going. Moon Knight's been really good. Jed McKay, like I stopped fucking around. I was just like, whatever his name's on it, let's just buy it, like because that's where we're at. But yeah, we're just chilling. We're kind of hanging out. We're talking a little bit and doing some really cool stuff. I just love you guys and wanted to hang out. So I want to see what's going on. Leave me some comments because I'm lonely here. I'm trying to get a couple of other comic creators who are up late who wants to hang out. We haven't had any messages yet. But yeah, it's been really cool tonight. Just kind of chill out. Oh, okay, I'm at the end of work, so I'm working on a script now. I haven't read much comics lately, unfortunately, but a friend gave me a buttload of comics, including a bunch of fables. I do not love fables. I don't know why. I'm not a huge fan of the fables. I should be because it's good. But yeah, it's crazy that it has not resonated with me. It's not got its thing. I'm going to try to share this on Twitter to help people. I'm sorry. I love the idea of fables. My dog days is very similar, but fables has never resonated fully with me. But yeah, oh, hold on, I got a message. No, that's a congratulations. I made something. Oh, I can get an online job. That's nice. That's what I got that message for. I want to hang and chat. But yeah, I just want to talk about the State of the Union of Comics. So one of the things that I like, I'm going to rant a little bit since I'm here. Should be a fan of all. That's some of my favorites. You read it or like, well, dude, like no, like I totally get that Fables rocks. In fact, I will even say that the Fables are a game from the Telltale game. Really bought a lot of people. I got a bruise on my notes like that. What's that? It's crazy. Right? It's weird. Brought in some people. So I'm going to kind of talk about the industry right now. Like, we're in a weird phase of the industry. Comics are doing better than they've ever have. There's a lot of people who are a lot of new publishers for you to come and hang out with. And I think that is producing a lot of problems with stability in the comics community. So there's so many publishers that you have to choose from. There's so many different things. And nobody is producing things for stability, right? So you've got Marvel and DC that are producing basically things for the movies. So that only lasts so long. It doesn't help that the movies, we're doing whatever movie they want in this thing. So that's been a problem there, trying to figure out what that looks like. We've got, so they're not trying to plan out the next great thing that's going to last in the next 20 years. It's like, what do we need to put in our books to help the movies get sales or get more notice when we're reading the comics? And I think that's a different message. But yeah, it's really interesting to do that. And then I watched something like Scream, which I watched tonight, and the movie has such potential, and it's playing a love for the franchise. This is the non-spoiler review. It gives such a love to the franchise without dumbing down anything. They did do some stuff that was kind of sucks, but really giving us some fun, and making it a franchise that's going to last forever, right? Like really protecting its legacy. Like, how do we keep making these new movies? It's the same thing that Star Wars had to do, right? So Solo didn't do very well, so they had to slow down movies. And the reason why Solo didn't do well is not because it's a bad movie. I don't think Solo was a bad movie at all. I think it came out too fast after Star Wars movies. We're used to Star Wars movies taking years and years to come out. So if you rush it out, it loses that flavor, It loses that huspa, whatever you would say. So yeah, that's what's going on with me. I'm just kind of chilling after the movie. I didn't plan this live. I just kind of threw it up there and was like, hey man, if you want to hang out, we can chat. My boy Pat Shan is in the green room, but I told him to kind of chill out, let him kind of do his thing, because I didn't know if we're going to get anybody, if anybody wants to hang out. I wonder if it's a trend with Disney. Once something is a hit, they rush it out more and more and same property. Yeah, Marvel's the same thing. I think a lot of people are getting Marvel fatigue. I honestly think that COVID saved superheroes. I think the fatigue would have been way worse if we didn't get superheroes in between. We didn't get those movies in between. So yeah, it's one of those things. But we're just trying to figure out what's the next thing, right? What are we trying to do? But yeah, it's been wild. It's been wild trying to create these things, getting to the next thing. My plate has been filled. We currently have this new Kickstarter, which is wild. So let me show you the Kickstarter. I at least want to promote it one time while I'm here. I am struggling to fund, guys, which is crazy. So you guys know me. You guys have seen me around. You guys are probably in my Xanax sphere here. I have never had a book not fund. And this may be the first, which is crazy. But it's a kid's book. It's written by my wife. It's about our family, which is pretty cool. We have 7 days to go, and we need about $300. But pledges are only about $30 a day, so that's not going to quite get there at the current status, because 7 times 5. Well, I guess that would work, but no, 7 times 3, which is 24. That's not 300. So. But yeah, this is our book. It's Cottage Cheese. It's very exciting. So what my wife did is she went and produced a song. She produced a song called Cottage Cheese. It's a sing-along comic. So you read the comic as the song is sung. So let me show you the song. I'm going to play it. This will get stuck in your head, so be prepared for that. So be prepared before I hit this play button. Cover your ears if you haven't heard it, but let's play it real quick.
Remy sailing in the ocean, kicking our favorite potion with a pinch of cottage cheese. They went riding in the moonlight, magic carpets in the breeze. Cannonballed into a pool of creamy goodness, cottage cheese. Cottage cheese, cottage cheese, it's all I want to eat, it's cottage cheese. Cottage cheese, cottage cheese, every day for breakfast, cottage cheese. Remy's climbing up a mountain.
All right, so that's the basic. I'm not going to make you guys go through a kid's song, but that's the thing. Charlie, if you're available, we're kind of hanging out. If you want the link, I would love to debate that article with you. I'd love to discuss that article with you in great detail, go through that full article of James Tynion, because there's a lot of good stuff in there. Some things I disagree with, but a majority of them I agree with. Love to debate that a little bit and discuss it with you if you're free. I just kind of wanted to go live, talk about it. If you hadn't saw my Kickstarter, I wanted you to be able to see it. I think we're blessed in comics, right? I think that the industry as a whole is growing. There's a lot more creatives in the field than's ever been before, because the gates are open. You know, Kickstarter, Indiegogo, Crowdfunder, Zoop, all these things have a doorway that's opening. And the key is the people who are getting through that doorway is how are they getting through that doorway? And what are they going to do once they get on that other side of that doorway? Because objectives and goals for these comic books are not the same that they've always been, right? Some books are lasting a long time. Some books are only going a couple of issues. Some people are just they have their dream and they want to do a single issue and call it a day. So it's really crazy about what you see and what you don't in the industry. And James Tynion did a article about this, which is very fascinating. Him and that guy from Off Panel, David Hans, which is an amazing guy. In fact, I bought the whole thing. I couldn't just read the little bit that was online. I really needed to go deep dive into this and figure out what it is about it and what he had to say about the comics. And basically what it turned into this is comics had a decent runway for a little bit. We had a couple of our angel investors. We had people doing some things, and then that kind of went away. And then the IPs aren't producing as much. I mean, we had Brian K. Vaughan, who have two failed TV shows, not one, but two failed TV shows. And he's one of the prolific writers of our time in the comics industry, right? Like Saga is selling better than anything else. You know, it's just facts. So we're in a weird space in the comic industry as we're trying to pave new paths and trying to figure that out. I think we have kind of hurt ourselves a little bit. We all leaned back into the collector's market when COVID hit. So variant covers and things like that really, really blew up, really had a lot of clout. And I think we're seeing the end of that. I think Whatnot has showed up and kind of spread that market out too much and trying to build the audience and trying to build what we're making. So it's super interesting. As we pave this new world, who's going to be the publisher that has your back? Because a lot of them don't have any money to help you get to that next level. A lot of books are selling under 1,000 copies, which would be embarrassing back in the day. So we're all trying to figure out what this new medium. In fact, a lot of people, Charlie and himself, has said, if you can hold off a little bit, putting out your project, in the direct market, kind of do so. And James Tynion kind of said the same thing. If you could take this year off, it's going to be better for you because we don't really know what it looks like. So that's been wild, just kind of accepting that and trying to figure out what that means as me as a comic creator, doing what I'm doing. My direct market started this year. I did Coins of Judas, number 1 and 2. Let me see if I can show you. Yeah, got a cool variant, shiny cover right here. Look at that shiny. This is for the collective. You can get some of these at their store, on their online store, or you can get some at MegaCon. The artist of this cover, the Bags Brothers, will be there, which is pretty cool. Got Granite State Punk. Hey, Joey, I am just going live. I normally do a hangout on Thursdays. I didn't plan it out tonight, so I didn't invite guests or anything, but we're kind of talking about the comic industry as a whole. for a little bit. I invite anybody who's a friend of mine. You're more than welcome to message me, and you'll get an invite. If I don't know you, though, I'm probably not going to invite you tonight because it's scary out there, man. It's scary. But if you want to come and hang out and talk comics a little bit, I'll be here for a little bit longer, kind of talking about that. So yeah, we're just kind of talking about the industry and about what's going on. I think Kickstarter is the way to go right now. It's the most thing that's seeing growth. A lot of really good people in that. Nice. Joey, that's awesome that you have a book on pre-launch. Which one of your books on pre-launch? I actually have a book on pre-launch as well. Let me share that out to the group because I don't think I shared that yet. I have Tales in the Collective, which is on pre-launch. Let's see where we're at. We are still at 10 followers, so that hasn't been doing great, but we've been pretty busy. So let me grab the link and show you guys that. So Tales of the Collective is a great book that we put together. Let me kind of show you that. If you didn't see it, you're going to want to get this one, guys. This is pretty good. Coins is everything. Hey, Daniel, how are you? Badass Girls. Okay, put the link in the thing. People are still going to come to this con this year, or maybe it's a money thing. I think it's both. I think cons. I think there is some people who are worried about COVID, rightfully so, because we're out the newer strains and it's really hard to come by. But I also think that financially, like things aren't great, so there's not as much going on. Brian, where do you live again? I know that you saw me at the Granite State Con. How far are you from New Hampshire? I knew that it was a drive for you, but I didn't know how much of a drive. So, and hopefully you can come out. I just lost COVID Con. And then we have No Contest. I should have a pre-launch for that up this week, which is pretty cool. That book is all together. We just got a new cover today. So let me show this one first. I'm just going to kind of talk to you guys for a minute, hang out. I don't need no guests. Not too far. I'm upper north. So Brian, there's a really good con called Little Giant, let me find it. Little Old School Con, I think is what it's called. Little Giant Comics, and they have a show. What is their show called? Old School Comic Show. I'll show you that too. Let's share my screen so we'll get all this going on. Let's see what Charlie said. Too much market vitality. It's a risk versus reward. Hard to know if stores are even going to order or not. Some stores may go under. Some stores may go under. In a year, hopefully those who are still here will be the ones for self-footed. Yeah, absolutely. Old School Comic Show. Yes. Let me talk about it for a second, Brian. I'll get to that in a second. Let me show this Tales of the Collective. If you guys can hit the pre-launch of this Tales of the Collective, that would be super helpful. This is for a comic store out in Florida, and this is our newest lineup. We have 10 followers right now. We'd like to get some more. But we have 4 comics in it. We have The Lich in the Kitchen, which is a brand new first appearance. It's kind of like a cooking show in a D&D universe, which is wild. Zombies, Wish We Were Humans 2, which is an Austin Janowski book, which is pretty cool. That's a Richwood Hall cover that we have. We have Immortal Error, which is Edward. I can't think of his last name right now. Sorry, I'm struggling. What is his name? Edward Davis. That's it. Choose. Edward Davis. And then we have Water Wars 2288, which is a Tim's book. Thank you, Davey. But Tales of the Collective is a really good anthology. We do it once a year, and it basically showcases some other Kickstarter books. So this is 4 books. You'll kind of get a preview of it. We're going to launch that next Tuesday, so be prepared. It's going to be pretty cool. Yeah, Ed Davis. And then Tim, I don't know how to say Tim's last name. I do know his last name, but how would you say that? How do you say Tim's last name? Would it be Fling? Fling, I think Fling. But yeah, so those 3 books will be out there. Stuff. And again, anybody who wants to come on can come on. But thank you guys for following that. So that's going to be a really cool thing. And we'll go back into the debate. I want to talk to Charlie more about that stuff. But I want to show you guys this really cool thing that happened for me. This is a big deal for me. Almost as big as the Glee Collective when they finally do a exclusive cover with me. This is so right here, April 15th from 10 to 5, I will be in New Hampshire, and you're going to be able to get this. So this right here is a Granite State Punk. This is a Virgin variant, but if you sign up for the VIP, let's see if can you still see? Yeah, no, keep you on that back page. If you sign up for the VIP, you get a non-virgin copy of this. So you get the trade dress version of this in the VIP, which is only $50, which is not bad. And you get a whole bunch of other stuff. And you get invited to a dinner afterwards and all sorts of really cool things. So I highly recommend coming out to the show if you can. It is my birthday, so you get to hang out with me on my birthday. Well, it's the day after my birthday, my mom's birthday. And I've shared my mom passed away. So I may need some love and some hangouts. Jim Starlin's going to be there. I'm going to be. Let's look at the guests. Let's see if the guests will open up and it'll share for you guys. But it's so cool that this show. Yes, you got Kyle Willis, you got Keith Williams, you got Alex Cormack, you got Jim Starlin, you got all these guys up here. And then down here, you got Jim Starlin, you got Al McGarn, you got Keith Williams, you got Bob Alliam, Michael Royer. You've got Joe St. Pierre. You've got Matthew Dumas. You've got Alex Cormack. You got Buzz. I don't know who Buzz is, but you got Edward Chase. He does some stuff for the Tick, and he did some music. Kirk Chebian, again, a Ninja Turtles guy. You got myself. You got Jay Kennedy, Mike Doherty, Ron Lees. I mean, these are great creators who are out here. So it's a pretty good one-day show. But like I said, the big draw is everybody in that, at least the big draw if you're a fan of me. You got Travis Gibb. That's right. And you got Travis Gibb. Is everybody in the whole place is going to get a Granite State Punk, which is so cool. Like I'm going to be in the show. It's about a week after my 2 weeks after my book releases. So come out in New Hampshire, the first Granite State Punk Travis release. So I think that's going to be a big thing. And so it's so honorable to know that this con is sponsoring me and having me in every one of their bags. I mean, how cool is that? That is so effing cool. And I'm excited about it. I'm ecstatic about it. So yeah, if you're in that area, Brian, and if you can come out, please come out. I think it'll be great. But yeah, so those are the two big announcements there. We can go over, let me show something else. So we'll go over the no contest page too. So I'm finishing up the no contest page right now. Let me show you. I still have to add a lot of issue 1 stuff. So if you don't see it, it's going to be cool. But yeah, that Pat Chin just logged off, but I saw his face like really close to the screen. It made me laugh. Let me show you this. So we're finishing up this campaign to launch. I got it. In fact, I'm going to finish it tomorrow. But yeah, no contest 2. Here's some of the covers, which is pretty cool. So this is cover A, and then this is going to be cover B. This is a homage cover. I'll point that out a little bit better. It's a Daredevil homage, which is pretty cool. I got Daniel right there. This is cover C, which is pretty dope. And then we've got a couple of preview pages. We've got some of the darker pages. We're going a little bit more comic booky in this one, which I think is good. And then this is a cover that we just added trade dress to, which is nice. But yeah, the book's all completed. We've got it all taken care of. So that's going to launch next week as well. Hopefully you guys will come on to that. If you didn't try No Contest 1, definitely try No Contest 2. No Contest 1 is like Law and Order. No Contest 2 is like Daredevil. So like you're getting kind of the best of both worlds, which is pretty cool. We've got a few little tweaks before we're ready to get that live, but that's kind of the behind the scenes look of what's going on. I also announced all the crazy team for Neverland on our website. Actually, let's go one better than a website. Let's go that. We're just hanging out tonight, so I'm just going to talk, and hopefully you guys want to hear me talk. Let me check. I'll have to check with my boss to get the day off, but maybe I can plan at least to be there for the morning or early afternoon. So it'd be fun. It'd be good to hang out around Snapchat. Very hot. Damn, it looks awesome. Yeah, if you can come. So it's $50 for like to get that cover. I mean, you could buy the Virgin one there. I'm gonna see Pat Chin just came on.
Yeah.
Are you okay?
Hello.
Are you safe?
Am I safe?
Are you safe? I see a lot of men around you, and they just keep hovering around you, and I hear that that's not safe when men are hovering around you. Is that,
Yeah, here they are.
right?
Here
So
they are.
what are you doing, Pat? What in the comic industry are you doing right now?
We
What
are
in the
shipping-
goddamn comic industry are you doing right now?
Shipping Cheeky. It was our biggest Kickstarter of all time. I'll show you
Right.
a safe cover right now. Speaking of safe,
Keep it safe.
but yeah,
Trying
Cheeky,
to monetize here.
it's the main cover.
Okay.
And yeah, we've been shipping that. It's been the biggest Kickstarter of my career. I can't prove it, but I heard it's the biggest Kickstarter of all time. So,
I could prove that it's sure. Yeah, no, I got your back. I'm not gonna
yeah.
out you publicly.
I know it. You know it. Everybody knows it. Biggest Kickstarter of all time.
Right, everyone knows it. In fact, Charlie Signey, who also has big Kickstarters, says, "I'm very jealous of you having a team, and you only get a team by being the best of all time."
It's true. This is fostering friendships here. Fostering friendships, using them for labor.
Right. And some of them are creators themselves, right? You got a couple of creators in that room, like creators they're basically what's called unpaid interns, I think is what the term is.
Let me introduce everybody. Actually, can
All
I clip this and use this for my blog?
You can use whatever you want of any conversation, even if it gets me in trouble, Pat. Like,
Very good here.
I
So
got your back.
we have. Oops. we
Here,
have.
let me make you big. Hold on. So you can use it for your blog, Pat. I'm going to make you big.
Smiley Chris.
Hey, how you doing?
Who are you, man?
Well, I'm Smiley Chris. I'm a rapper. You can find me on iTunes and all that stuff,
Uh-oh.
Google Play.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, just got an album, Archive Works of Heart. It's like music I've been making the last 20 years, and I didn't release until this past year.
He's been packing it up. We have
Old friends with Pat.
Oh yeah, Armand Nassim.
You can call me the next Pat Chan. That's what you can call me,
Hey, we kind of match actually.
Yeah.
It's pretty good. Plug your shit.
My name's Armand. I'm on Kickstarter now. Actually, I have Lunar Smoke. I'm a writer, and yeah, that's basically it.
Lunar Smoke #3. There's actually a crossover with the Steamy Camp.
That's right. There is.
Going on right now. We have Twan here, Big Greek Gyro.
I'm Pat's bodyguard,
Yeah.
Swan. Appear at some of the cons. I got to keep the fans 6 feet away from him, and we ain't talking COVID.
And finally, we have the editor of Cheeky Comics. This is going to be our imprint for the Not Safe for Work titles coming up soon. It's Mr. Steve J.
How's it going? Steve J here. Old friend Pat Chan, and looking forward to working on Cheeky.
You can just see how pervy he is, right? You can just see he's a dirty man.
Dirty dog.
And that's the team right now. We have also some other people involved, but they're not here. I have a meeting with Jeff Massey, who is my editor on Destiny in the Air titles, in addition to Shannon, in about 8 minutes. So I wanted to pop in here and say hi.
So is this is related to you? This book right here?
It is. Oh, hold on. Can I see how where is that right now? I can't see how it's doing. Just scroll back up.
I'm right at the top.
No. I see it's on the cover right now. There we go. All right. 42,760.
All right.
Let's go. Beautiful.
You realize you're just telling your labor forces, look, guys, you're still employed.
Exactly.
And you got some wonderful covers here. Like these are,
Thank you.
they're. I would say if I could pick one word, they're kind of steamy.
I'd say so. I say that's a good word.
There's some cheeks in there too.
Definitely. We have a cover by Stepan Sejic right there, Jen St. Ange, Romina Morinelli, and lyrics. The concept of steamy is this. It is 5 spicy stories that overlap in exciting ways. Funny, emotional, character-driven. They all are about sex, but they approach stories about sex the same way that others approach stories about drama, gangs, horror, crime, superheroes. All those genres are fine to explore, but sex, no. Why? I say yes. God damn it. This is the 3rd installment in our Not Safe for Work series. We have Thirsty, Cheeky and Steamy, all available on the campaign. We're going to continue this with the Cheeky Comics imprint with different series that are some single issues, some ongoing, some one-off annuals. But this is the culmination, the climax, one might say, of this line.
Nice. Well, it's really cool. I'm excited about it. We got to get that. Danny, I just passed a Duncan thought of you. Well, Danny, if you have a minute, I'd love to promote your covers if you want to come on. Ryan, did it get hot in here all of a sudden? And you said your boy Almond, he does the Kickstarter. He has something on the Kickstarter.
Did you just call him Almond?
Almond, yes. That's his name, correct? Almond,
Yeah.
Almond Joy.
Almond Joy, yeah. Yes, Lunar Smoke #3 is on Kickstarter right now. We have a crossover print that if you back at certain levels, you can either get it normal,
Oh,
hollow
Luna,
foil,
as in like
or
the
metal.
moon, Luna.
Lunar.
Oh, okay. So he spelled it wrong. So that's why it's a problem. All right. So let's look at his campaign. Armin, do you want to come on here for just a second and tell me about it?
I
Right.
never mind sharing a screen with Pat. You know,
There he is.
let me see.
Let's get your stuff up here, and I'll share Pat's out into the chat. Well, so what's it? It's doing pretty well.
Hell yeah.
I think so.
About to be 5-figure Armin.
That's right. We'll do it again. You know?
Have you ever been 5-figure, Armin?
They used to call me 5-figure Shand.
Okay.
A few months ago, yeah. That was my
Now
nickname.
Armin's a 10 grand man.
Yeah.
That's right.
Soon to
this-
be 100 grand man, like Pat Shane.
So what is this about besides sexy cowboys or girls?
It is a space western, classic, classic space western, and she's a sheriff of the moon. And
Okay.
then, you get bandits. It's a newfound colony on the moon, and you get all the struggles of a newly formed civilization, and you also get crime and see what's the future, and then a lot of politics, but then you also get some fun sheriff action, cowgirl action.
Nice. Oh, and that logo is fire, man. That is a fire logo. Good job.
Thank you. It's something we worked hard on. Then also, we always like changing up the colors and trying to do new things with it. So
Beautiful.
And this is the third issue. You can get all three as well as all your other books because you put out like almost a book a year last year, or at least tried to, right?
I did a book a month, 12 books, and this is the 13th. This is the 13th campaign and book that's coming out. Yeah.
So since you can afford to do a book a month, you don't need to work for free for Pat. I'm not trying to sell Pat out.
I do it out of love for this man. You know what I'm saying?
All right.
And also, I pay these guys.
I like my
I'd rather
theory
try
that they're
to find
unpaid
out,
interns. I like that
Well,
theory way better.
Make sure to back the campaign.
I will say this. Armin is self-sacrificial because when he was finishing up here a few days ago, he made a reference to doing this for free, and I was like, "You're being paid. This is work."
Is it
Doesn't
because
feel
he
like it.
wasn't paid prior and was confused?
No, this is my first time doing it this way. I haven't had any of these cucks to help me out before. Just kidding, you guys. I mean, unless anyone here is a consensual cuck, no. This is my first time doing it this way. I am happy to bring my boys on and give them some bread.
Yeah, no, I'd be there if I was in New York. Just come out and have a beer and hang out with the boys. That'd be a fun night. So I get it, and I appreciate what you're doing. And you guys got a pack, so I don't want to keep you longer. But if you guys, I put both the campaigns in the comments.
Thank you.
So make sure you back both Pat Shan and Almond Joy and all.
Oh, love to see it. Love to see it.
But Lunar Smoke and Steamy. They have a crossover, so I assume if you back both, you get that print. Is that the way it works?
That's the only way to get it.
Yeah.
So if you want that very fire print, you're going to have to back both campaigns. And I think it's worth it. There's some really cool stuff here. Armin's been working really hard. I've been admiring him from afar. So it's really, really good to see him doing some cool stuff.
I love it.
And having good partnerships. Pat's one of my boys. He's one of my ride or dies. He won't let me ride him though. It's weird. Like that's what
It's a
inside
spicy
voice.
stream.
Inside voice. Sorry.
Spicy stream.
We're both married. We're both married and very happy.
Can we end with a message from all of us to Raven Gregory?
Yeah. What do we want to say to Raven Gregory?
All right, so hold on. Okay.
Do I need to make you big?
Yeah, please. Okay. All right. 3, 2, 1. Fuck Raven Gregory!
And that, my friends, is beautiful, and why in comics we partner with people who just have love for each other and others in the community. That message is out to Raven Gregory and how they feel about that man and how they feel about who he is and how he's taking on the world. So Raven Gregory, from them to you, that message. I hope you got it. I hope you appreciated it. But since Danny's in the chat, let's talk about Danny. So Danny has me at Mega. Well, I have myself at MegaCon, but Danny has done a lot of really cool things for MegaCon this year. He works at the Collective. The Collective is a great store out in Orlando. I have been partners with them for a long time, and I want to show you some of their very cool stuff that they just put on their shop. And guys, just so you know, you can order these now without going to MegaCon. So if you're watching this and you're not going to MegaCon, please consider checking this out. Charlie, so much love for the company. Right, exactly. Like that's someone who does it. But the Collective loves the indie community. They're one of us who backs and puts our books in their stores, which is really cool. And they went all out this year. They spent a lot of money. It's like $15K, I think. It's a lot of money. Maybe I shouldn't say that. I'm sorry if that gets you in trouble, Danny. We'll bleep it out or whatever. But it's a lot of money on a booth and buying some independent comics, which is pretty cool. But so I'm going to show you guys in advance, and I'm going to post the link because what could really help Danny out to prove that it works is if you want to buy some of these in advance or you're not going to MegaCon, now is the time to buy them, check them out, do this stuff. But I'm going to show you some of the covers. I helped work on putting some of these together, which is really, really cool. Danny says we're finishing up the tons of graphics and marketing, so out the social media is going to be fire. You have to put your money where your mouth is. Absolutely, absolutely. So let me show you where he's got some fire MegaCon exclusive, and they put a few of them online. So this is their store. Let's see if it opens up. It will not. Give me a second. Share screen. All right, so these are the MegaCon exclusives. So first one up, you got Ric Flair, which is a Scout comic. They've got 250 of these, so it's a limited run of 250. It's a very, very cool cover done by the Baggs brothers. The Baggs brothers are very loyal to Orange Cone. They did some stuff in Holiday Spirits, in Cthulhu Invades. They did all that stuff. And next to that is the metal cover where there's only 50. But here's the thing. 10 of them are on the web store, and then every day there's only going to be 10 released. So Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So that's all 50 right there. So if you want to get the 10, there's a couple more available. Get them while they're hot, okay? We've got, they're big fans of me and supporting me and my endeavors. So they've got Coins of Judas by Carl Merlin. So they've got that up there, and then they've got Coins of Judas 2 as well by the Baggs brothers with that cover, which is pretty cool. So if you didn't get your Coins of Judas and you wanted to get the exclusives for those, go ahead and get that from the Collective website, which is really cool. Jake and Sean are going to be at the table all weekend. It says Thursday through Saturday, so you can get it signed there, which is pretty cool. So I recommend getting that. Let's see what else they got. They've got Granite State Punk #1. Oh, what's going on? What happened there? Why is that not working? There is an error for some reason. Is this one working? No, it just keeps going to Ric Flair. Weird. Something I need to fix or figure out what's going on. it was not doing that because people have ordered it. So, all right. Anyways, here it is. Sign in. I was looking at March calendar earlier, like I do not able. I can totally make Little Giant Comic Event con. Please do go ahead and buy that VIP thing. Come hang out with me, Brian. I'm gonna go to the dinner after. So you can come sit with me. But the Grand State Punk, this is a something to remember homage. So if you're a punk fan, you remember that band. There's 250 of these available, which is really, really cool. But again, they're only from MegaCon. So the only way to get some of them is you get them on the site or you have to be at the show. There's also a metal version of this that is available for 120. It is pretty fire, man. It is very, very cool, and that's a Virgin. So if you love Grand State Punk and you need to collect all the covers, this is the one to get. And then good friend of mine, Recount seems to be working. Recount, this is their exclusive cover, so this is pretty cool. This is the art by Alan Qua. They have this regular cover at $25, and they have the store exclusive for 120, and that's going to be metal. So there's only 50 of the metal version of that. And Alan Qua is also going to be at MegaCon. So if you want to get it signed, Jonathan's going to be at MegaCon to get it signed. So if you like the Recount did very well. I know that Recount is going to get a big push coming up because it's got the Legacy Edition coming out. I think it's at the end of the month at the same time as that. So make sure that you have them. In fact, Danny, you should order some of those Legacy Editions to make sure you have them for the con, if they're going to ship at that time, because I think you could sell some of those there. But yeah, so go to thecollective.com. I posted it in there. So if you want any of those covers, go ahead and order them. They invested a lot in us and our creators. As you see, they've got 4 exclusives with me, 2 with Jonathan, and 2 with the Bags brothers, with the Ric Flair. So those are all Orange Cone guys who've done stuff. Andrew, where's your crew? I don't have a crew. My mother-in-law sometimes help packs. Oh, Charlie said he just ordered. That's awesome, Charlie. I don't know what you ordered, but we appreciate what you ordered. We appreciate what everybody orders. We appreciate the amount of work they put into us indie creators. And I know that if this works out next year, we're going to be even bigger. David's going to be there doing some stuff. So they're good guys. Show a little support, do some stuff. It's really, really cool to get some of those things and get that taken care of. So I appreciate it. Oh, nice, Charlie. I appreciate that. We really, really appreciate that, Charlie. That's awesome. That's awesome. Charlie, I won't do this for anybody else. This is just for you. But do you want me to get the GSP team, because I have the whole team at MegaCon to sign that and me to sign those coins? I'll get that sent out to you for the collective. I'd love to do that. Thank you. But we really appreciate it, trying to get some stuff out, and I really appreciate Charlie having the back. But let's go back. Charlie, we can make that happen, right? Danny, we can make that happen, right? Even if I send it on my dime, I'll send it. I'll get all those signed, and I'll put yours aside. I'll remember. But that's awesome. But the goal of all these things that we're doing and what we're trying to put together is a community, and the collective is part of that community at that event. But things that aren't mentioned, that they have David Byrne's going to be signing some Canceled there. Yeah, Danny got it. Cool. Danny, so we got James Hike is going to come and sign the Ric Flair with the Bags brothers, which is pretty cool. We've got David Byrne and Francesca are going to come. They're going to sign the Steak exclusives that are there. So that's going to be really cool. They're going to do me. I'm going to be there a couple times with the whole Grand State team. So I have Patrick there. I have myself there. I have Jerome and Heather. So the whole team is going to be there. So these are going to be a quad sign. So it's going to be a good time at MegaCon this year. It's sad that it's going against MegaCon, C2E2, but yeah, man, like this is really cool stuff, and we're really excited to be there. I'm really excited about all these things that are happening and that we're doing. But yeah, hopefully you guys are chilling out and doing some cool stuff. Oh, I got a message. Hold on. Maybe we got a guest who wants to come on. It's not too late. Oh, oops, it was too late to say anything. All right. All right, I got it. All right, that was unrelated. But yeah, so let's talk about this article a little bit. So basically, the article breaks down about the industry and about. Thanks, Brad. That's very cool, Brad. I do know that Danny and I are talking about you and getting you in for a cover or something next year because we want to get some more Florida people. Still on the 20, I may join you. Okay, cool. I'm not sure if I will be because it's a quiet night. I got to finish the script, but I do want to talk a little bit more about the industry. So right now, you can if you want, Andrew, but we're just kind of talking about the industry for a little bit and trying to get some stuff. But I'll probably stay on for probably a half hour. Yeah, sure. You can join me for a little bit, Andrew. So one of the things I really got out of that article about comics is comics aren't built to when you look at manga. So a lot of people like go manga. Oh, the reason why manga is so great is it doesn't have objectives and it doesn't have this and that and all those things. And some of that's true. They have less objectives, but also it's a more sustainable model. Like people view it as an art form. There's not a stigma of it that it's childlike, that the adults can back it, so there's that part of it. The other thing about it too is they're designing it to be sustainable. Like that's why they do the multiple volumes. Like they invest in the comic before they even think about bringing it to the cartoon, to the screen, or any of that stuff. So I think that's one of the things we're seeing is the big two don't care about stability. They're focused on whatever movie or agenda the studios say. And I say agenda, not saying like pushing agendas, meaning if their agenda is to keep the movies going, that's what they're going to. Hey, keep it. Gimme Giggly, how you doing, man? Cody is a good man. We're talking about the state of the industry. I am going to be on for another half hour or so. You're more than welcome to come on. If you message me, I can give you the link. We've been talking for a little bit. We've gone on for all the cool Orange Cone stuff coming through, trying to get some backers for the sing-along blog. Let's see if that's picked up at least a little bit. Should be the sing-along blog. Nope, we're at the same spot we were, but that's okay. And Andrew says it's complicated. Yeah, it is complicated. And then the studios that were willing to invest in people is a little crazy. So that's hard too. All right, so Brian's going to head home. Good hearing you. Thanks for bringing up the Colin and the website. I can look into. Yeah, man, I would recommend getting the VIP package because the VIP package comes with the dinner after. So you can hang out with us all day and then you can come to the dinner. And then I can hang out with you at the dinner, which is great. You got Andrew's kind of hanging out for a little bit. How you doing? How you feeling?
Yeah, so legs doing good. Legs
Okay.
doing good. It's healing up and babying it. So for those who don't know, I had a surgery 2.5 weeks ago. So my foot sort of got fused together, and driving is now on the table for me as a person. So it's kind of a big deal.
That's and you've never driven before, or you drove?
Not in 13 years.
Okay.
So it's on the table depending on how my rehab goes. So it sounds like a simple, mundane thing, but for me, it's a really, really big deal.
Right. No, I don't think that's a mundane thing at all. Like that is a big deal, man. Like being able to get up and be active and it's a thing. I actually have a friend of mine who doesn't drive, and I'll be honest, it bothers me because like, dude, you have like 2 kids. What if there's an emergency and a wife? Like, what if there's an emergency? You can't drive. Like you're incapable. Like I'm not trying to say he's less manly, but like it like concerns me. Like you need to be able to take care of your family.
It's an issue of independence.
Right.
It
Sure.
sounds weird, and this is like the first time that I guess in 13 years I'm getting a real sense of independence. But I would rather talk about manga, to be honest.
I mean, I would never want to talk about manga, but we can. What do you want to say about manga?
No, I mean I love it. It's wonderful and it's amazing. And I think the best thing they've done, at least in Barnes and Noble and bookstores, is that they're all the same size. So when
Right.
you walk in, all the shelves look the same. Also, they all have the same spine. and they all, in a series. I'll just use Naruto. It's either all white or it's all black,
Right.
and it's all consistent. And you look at graphic novels, and they're different sizes, different shapes, different. I don't want to say widths. I think is the right word to use, and it definitely does not create a clean, robust look. And I think that's a real issue because it looks sloppy.
Sure. And what I find fascinating, I love comics. You know how much I love comics and love the industry, and how many creators I know and study. And like I've been reading comics since I was 12 years old. And it was this year that this came to reality, Andrew. It was this year that I realized it is when I met Richard Fairgrave, that there is a bunch of creators who are creating beautiful comic books, beautiful things, and putting them into the world. And I don't know their effing name. And some of them have catalogs of 300 books. But you go into Barnes and Noble and they're everywhere. And those same people couldn't go to a con, right? They're not going to be able to get into a con. And that is wild to me. Like right now, we're doing the children's book with my wife for the super delicious sing along blog. It's so crazy. Like I have a name and a presence that our company has name and value and name recognition in the Kickstarter community, and it is struggling to fund, and it is crazy because of that market. The Kickstarter market is this, and we can not even talk about bookstores. Like we can go even one deeper. Webtoons. There's people who are famous in webtoons that I have no idea that they even exist. And you could tell me their name at a con, and I'd be like, who the F are them? They've never created a comic. I would be cocky and arrogant. And then someone would Google it and go, this guy's created 50,000 things and has more likes and follows than you ever will. He made $1.5 million last year. And I was like, I don't know that guy's name. Is he Scott Snyder? Is he Tom? Is he Brian Michael Bendis? I don't know him.
It's interesting, and I mean the state of Kickstarter is so weird right now, and I'll be very honest, as a consumer, I am burned out from backing things, and I'm tapped out, and I'm massively behind in reading things, and it sounds weird, but I think it's a real issue where I think people are fatigued from backing things, and I think also people are waiting on tax returns. And I think there's a lot of stuff that sort of reached the pinnacle point. And that's just how I feel. And I'm taking a break, to be honest, from backing things for a while, for probably about 6 weeks, because I'm exhausted. And I'm exhausted, really across the board on everything.
Yeah, well, I mean, the platform, let's see the current numbers. Let me look it up. We are higher than normal. And the reason why that is because things like Aftershock and the direct market, they're not producing what they normally produce. So people are getting scared. Let's see how many projects are live right now.
I'm also a little preoccupied with my personal life too, but that's neither.
Oh yeah, and I don't think you're a normal backer too. Like you are a backer, so I won't give you that. But there's people who every week are backing 3 to 5 projects. Every week. You're a one. You used to have one a month, and then one and a friend is kind of probably more accurate, right? I have one that you're backing because you're interested, one because I like you, I'm going to back it.
Yeah, and then also I'm now getting into retail, which is a whole different ball game, and picking up that, and that's a whole, I guess, everything in a bag of chips, for lack of a better word.
Right, exactly. All right, so right now there is 209 projects live. Last year at this time, there was 164. So there is more projects than there's been on the platform in a long time. Part of that, I think, is also, you look at Indiegogo, you got the shadow bans, you got the crowdfunder stuff right now, you got the Zoop, you have to like beg them to get in. It's weird. Like it's not a normal submission process, right? You gotta do that. And then you got Luke Stone just started his new Fund My Comic stuff. So you've got a lot of different platforms, but Kickstarter is still 40 projects higher than it was last year,
Yeah, no, Kickstarter is king. And then obviously when I produce a book, I'm going to be on Kickstarter. And it's because it's got the most traffic and then Indiegogo I think has the second most traffic. And let's be realistic. I mean, the fees that Kickstarter takes against the others, it's really pennies compared to what it brings in traffic.
Right. Well, yeah. The algorithm of Kickstarter is superior in every single way to any of the other platform. That's why people use them. You will get more organic Kickstarter backers from Kickstarter. I think that's one of the problems with our particular project here. There's not a lot of other kids books to share it with to help with the algorithms, right? And I think that's why kids books don't do well. I think actually I wish kids had a separate category on Kickstarter, like all kids, like kids games, put it all in one category. Kids books and literature, kids comics, kids games, kids educational like stuff. I think all those. I think that would help out the platform.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I work in education, and I work, in accessibility with education, and particularly K through 6, making sure that, somebody who has a disability can actually access education stuff. So that's a whole complicated space, and it doesn't mean that it can't be done on Kickstarter, because I know Todd Kelly did something
Right.
really well, and then I think Sam Vera does okay.
C is for Cthulhu, like that picture book does really well. But I also think a lot of adults are buying that,
But yeah, no, it's just a tough category, and it's a category I do not want to do, man. Like, to be honest, like, it just seems like it's hard. It's hard to do a kid.
It is, but for me, my wife wrote this song, and it's about my family, so it's super personal. So I mean, if it didn't fund, we'd still make it ourselves. I mean, we've already invested in the full. My wife paid out of pocket the full book and full song. I mean, so it's double what a normal comic book would cost me, and I'm asking for less because I know it's kids. But we love our kids. I wish I could do more kids books. Like, I'm kind of working on one that's an all ages book now, but I'll probably never say it's a kids book because clearly that's the death. But you can't not do the one that's about cottage cheese. But I think everybody has a family member or a kid or someone in their life that could support this and be part of it, right? Like, that be interested in taking part.
Yeah. I'm not saying don't do it. I'm just saying that, just know what you're going to sign up for.
Right, exactly.
Get ready to put on a life jacket is all I'm going to say.
No, I agree with that. So I saw your guests are great. You're getting a lot more wrestlers and doing some more stuff. You're kind of skipping around again, which is great. How's the show going?
It's going good. It's a lot of fun. A lot of
Yeah.
fun stuff's going on, and a lot more interesting guests. And I'm taking more of a swing through cosplay lately.
Okay. So what's that like? Because cosplay, it's weird. Like, they have a lot of fans.
So weird right now.
Yeah, they have a lot of fans, and the way they monetize is all so different, right? So you've got the monetizers, like I monetize by taking photos, and like you sell prints of my stuff. We got to be honest and realistic. There's ones who monetize by like OnlyFans and stuff like that. There's also ones that monetize by photos, like they charge for photos at cons. So that's got to be weird where you're like, comic books. All right, cool. We're selling your comic book. Wrestlers, we're selling your event that you're doing. But cosplayers, what exactly are we? How do we monetize you? Because it's so different.
It's so weird. So what's going on is that obviously with the upper echelon, a lot of them have Twitch channels.
Sure.
And a lot of them do that. So a lot of them use their brand. And I mean, obviously, depending on your skill or how you look or how you embody a character, you'll become a Twitch partner, and then people throw your money on Twitch. Also, they do guests and they go to a con. So now, obviously, when you go to a con and they reach out to you, there's a guarantee sometimes. And
Right.
so now that's what happens. And, I don't know how far I can go deep into that. And I'm not the expert on that. So I don't want to say
Sure.
anything that's misleading, or they do judging, or, they sell stuff, or they do a combination of all of it. But what I'd like to deal with is people who have less than 10,000 followers on Instagram. And a lot of them are doing it because they just want to do it and they enjoy the hobby and they
Yeah.
want to have fun doing it. And so it's just, honestly, I'm taking a break from the upper echelon because I find that it's very catty right now.
Right.
It's also very, I guess monetary focused, and everything is about cool. How much is this going to make me? And I just don't find that the upper echelon's that interesting. I find that the people who have like 8, 9, maybe 15,000 followers on Instagram are more down to earth and want to actually talk about how they built their cosplays and what they're enjoying. And I'm reaching out and scheduling a photographer who's also a cosplayer to get that angle, because I think that's going to be a fascinating interview. And so that's kind of where I'm at. And, I'm not worrying about it. And I'm just trying to have a good time with it and just taking a break and easing up out of it, because I'm going to say something that's going to be mean, but I've been doing a lot of people in comics and I need a little break from comic interviews.
You know who would be a good one? So you may not know about the shop. It's called Pulp 716. Are you familiar with them?
I am not.
So they're out of New York. They're a comic store, but they have a very interesting business model. So there's no variant covers. They sell it for whatever cover you come, and they would rather you line up the door the covers. But they have a whole team that does cosplay, and they only cosplay independent characters, which is pretty cool. Like, so Something's Killing the Children, they did White Ash from Charlie Stickney, and a few others, and they sometimes they do covers. And I think it's really interesting. They have a unique way that they're doing stuff. They really want to be part of a community. They don't want to be all about the cover sales. They don't want to do that. They just want people to read and enjoy good comics, which I think is such a refreshing look. I know you and I who who look at the money side, we're like, but how do you monetize that? Like, you are losing a whole bunch, but it's so beautiful to see that they're like, we don't care. Like, we're happy just making the $2.50 or $2 a book that we make. Like, that doesn't bother us. Like, and I think I think there's something beautiful about that.
I think it's interesting. I mean, I'm a big fan of wrestling.
Yeah.
And Wrestling Open is up in Worcester, Massachusetts. So what they do is that it's every Thursday night and it's $10 to get in. So all the wrestlers split the gate. Now they're streaming on IWTV, which is a really big independent wrestling channel and platform. But what's so nice about it is that it's a fantastic show. And it's so refreshing to just see a good wrestling show. There's no just agenda. There's really no, I mean, now they have a championship belt in there, but it's just good wrestling. And the nicest thing is that every match is only 10 minutes. And so a match, if it goes beyond 10 minutes, it becomes a draw. And so now you're not bored. You're not seeing, we have to have 3 months of a story. And, I relate this back to comics, that it's kind of nice just to see a, simple story or see like a one shot. That's how I view a lot of these matches, is that it's just good writing, good storytelling. And then, 10 minutes and then we're out. And so you're not going to ever get bored and feel like something's being dragged out. And I mean, we've seen it with like 50 issues of Batman. And I'm using, mainstream more than anything else. But like after a while, like I get it. Batman's dark. Let's like we could end this story after 12 issues. So, but I think it's just nice, and honestly, I just want comics to be fun again.
Sure. Well, I think that what's really great, I think when people make fun of like Batman, like his arc, why is he still doing this? And I always point out the Undertaker. The Undertaker rebranded every 10 years of his career. New costume, new getup, new look, just like the comics. It's the same thing. When you do serialized storytelling, these things happen. Like, it's just reality. It's wrestlers, it's stuff. I mean, look at Jericho, like from being a Jerichoholic to the list to where he's at now. It's long form storytelling to survive and to be relevant needs those things. And I love that, because it makes you less mad about comics, right? Because you're just like, I want it this way. Yes. And they're going to go back to that way. American Badass made Undertaker more exciting when it came back to regular Undertaker. Like, because you were like, I don't like this, and that thing. And I think that's a cool, it's a cool, like, permanent thing for serialized storytelling versus a movie like Star Wars. Like, we're killing off a Luke Skywalker now to make room for this new person, right? Which is not what serialized storytelling. It's not the best way to tell serialized storytelling.
Yeah, no, I agree, and I think it's great, and I think that obviously, when everything comes back, I mean, my favorite moment in wrestling is when Hulk Hogan went NWO, and then comes back to WWE after his run in WCW, and then Vince was like, "You still got your boa, and you still got the red and yellow," and classic Hulk Hogan came back,
Right.
and boy, that was exciting, especially after the Rock thing, and then a few more things happened, and obviously it's just good storytelling, and I just want comics to be fun again. That's really what I want, guys. I'll be happy when comics are fun again, and then there's just good stories, because that's really all I want. I'm right now reading Fables, because the 20th anniversary of Fables just came out, and it's great. And so,
Hey,
yeah.
Charlie, how are you?
I'm good. I thought I would join you guys and listen to you talk about wrestling that I don't know anything about, and just say hey.
Well, we're talking about storytelling. We are talking about wrestling, but we're talking about how. So in wrestling, it works just like comics. Every few years, they have to rebrand the character so you can love them again. And sometimes it's to bring back the original character. Like if he's talking about Hulk Hogan, he went bad for a little bit, and to make it when Hogan came back to the Boa's American Truth, you could get behind it crazy, and you can watch the fans. And no different than comics, from Batman taking a turn, wearing armor, and then coming back and doing these arcs. It's kind of what's necessary for long-term serialized storytelling.
Yeah, I mean, I think depends on how long-term, right? I mean, I think once
Sure.
you hit about 10 years, you have to reset because you've got a new generation of fans coming in, which for me is always the, I think it's a problem with the medium, in the sense that you have turnover, right? And the nature of the medium itself dictates that you've got to keep changing and moving things forward, but you're trying to not change it too much because you want to keep the fans who have been doing it for so long. So it's just an inherent problem. It's something that was created that they never thought there would be the longevity for, right? Like in the 1940s when Superman came out, they didn't think it was going to be around 80 years later.
Right.
And if you look at like Superman from the 1940s, it's completely different than Superman from the 1950s, from Superman from the 1960s, from Superman from the 1970s. Like those are, every decade it was like completely different book. And the tone was different. Like you think of Batman from the 60s, like there was like these goofy stories, and they weren't worried about continuity for the first 30 or 40 years of the book, because they knew the nature of the medium. But then at some point, people started collecting and keeping issues because people didn't used to do that, right?
Right.
Like you
I'm
couldn't do that.
guilty.
So,
I'll take the guilt for that one. I'm sorry, everybody.
well, no, but I mean, like in the 1940s, if you didn't get your copy of Superman, you weren't going to be able to catch up in the 1950s, right? You couldn't go back very easily unless you were one of like 10 guys who somehow was, in contact with the people who had that run of Superman. So the collector's market didn't really exist. So if you missed it, you just came in, and this was Superman going forward. So there was no, there's no changing of the character over time. But at some point when that collector's market started in the late 1960s, early 1970s, it changed the inherent nature of serialized storytelling. And they had to think, this has to, have some kind of continuity to it that it never had before. And that's why if you look at the Marvel line compared to the DC line that preceded it, it was a much more continuous story going forward because it was built in an era where people were able to read everything.
Yeah, it's super interesting. People of that era. I was in a shop where someone brought an Amazing 50, and I was just hanging out at the shop, and someone brought an Amazing Fantasy 15, and they literally thought it was like $200. Like that's what they thought they had in their hand. They're just like, oh, okay. She's like, we know it's worth a little bit, 200 or something, but we'd really like to. We're like, no, that's not 200. Like even the owner was like, you need to look this up. Like this is a big thing. And like teaching them, like, do we want to CGC it? Do you want to press it? Like all these big conversations that you got to have after. But it was just in their garage, and they needed money they were holding on to it forever, and they knew it was Spider-Man's first appearance, but they had no idea. They didn't Google search it. They just walked into a store, and they're lucky they walked into that store, because other stores would have been like, "Yup,
Oh yeah,
Here's
Right.
$300.
right." We'll
I
give you
hear horror
300.
stories, man. It's. I have a story. It's not about Spider-Man, but somebody bought a house, and they go up into the attic, and they find all of these comics, and they found I think it's Usagi Jumbo, I want to say,
Okay.
which is the Samurai Rabbit book. So they found like the first issue, and that's like a $21,000 book in the attic of a house they just bought. And now what happened is that he puts it up on Facebook, and everybody's lowballing him like $5,000.
Right.
And so I saw it. I'm like, hey man, here's my number. And I wasn't interested about it. I said, like, you got like a $20,000 book. If somebody offers you 18,000, take it and run.
Right.
But like, it was a crazy story, and there's all this stuff like in this like short box that I guess maybe somebody forgot they had up there. But like, man, people were vultures, and it's crazy. And I was witnessing it in real time. I'm like, this is not good for the industry in any format, because when something is undervalued or people are like that, it's not healthy.
Well, it's tough because comics. There's so much people who bought comics in the '90s, and they think they're worth like $1 million, and they go into comic shops and be like, "Hey, I've got all this stuff." And even Spawn, they're like, "I know Spawn goes for $50," but a comic store that's been around over 10 years has no problem getting a copy of Spawn. Like, it's not a problem. Like Venom Lee the Protector. Yes, it's a $25 to $50 book, but there's no shortage of them. like we only charge that because that's what people will pay for them. Like, it's not, so people get confused of like the value versus the rarity, right? These are overprinted, lots of stuff. But Charlie, I really want to talk to you about this James Tierney stuff. So I apologize if you're going to be bored, Andrew, but I think that was probably the most well-written stuff. A lot of things that you've been saying for years were in there, but also a lot of like the way he framed it, like manga is producing for generations to be here 20 years, but comics, Marvel and DC right now are really just producing to feed the movies. I think that's such a better narrative than what you see when you get the people who are like, "Oh, it's all agenda." It is agenda building, but it's not what you're saying. It's agenda building. It's agenda for the movie, for the next movie, just the next thing. It's not agenda for any like social, political, anything. It's just for whatever the next movie is. That's it.
Well, so in case anyone's tuning in, there's a
Let me see if I
website
can find it. I'll share it.
called
Yeah.
Sketched, SKTCHD. Maybe it's missing one of those letters, but it does a lot of things with interviews with different people. But they're having a series. It's a back and forth. So there's going to be more of these between him and James Tynion talking about the industry. This was the third one that dropped, and I thought it was really insightful in terms of what's going on right now and some of the problems that we're hitting, and because the industry has gone through a lot of changes over the last 5 years in particular.
Right.
And if you go back, say 7 years, there was a whole bunch of these smaller publishers that popped up trying to off the momentum of the Avengers, right, of the first Avengers, when all of a sudden everyone's like, oh wait, comic books can make good movies, which is like a narrative that happens every 10 years or so. And then they forget about it in Hollywood and they went away from it. But maybe this time they're not going to forget about it. But all this investment money started flowing into these companies where they thought we were going to find the next Avengers. And then after 3 or 4 years, it hadn't happened. And so now they're pulling back. And these companies never had incentive to be comic book companies. And that's the big problem, I think, right now that's facing the industry. There are very few companies that have incentive to actually be comic book companies that live and die based on the product they're putting out. Marvel and DC, the biggest ones, don't care about the comics. It's market research, it's brand recognition for the movies. So that those are the biggest people. And then you go down to, like there's the tier of publishers that were just funded by VC companies that are just looking for the next bit of IP. So they don't really care how the numbers do in the stores. They're not really there to support the stores with any long-term growth. It's about getting as many properties out into the market so they can hopefully find one that hits, so they can turn that one into a TV show and make all that money back. So there's nothing. There are very few companies that are trying to sustainably produce comics and looking to create long-term properties that will in turn grow the market.
Yeah, I mean, it was fascinating. I shared it, by the way, linking all the article to everybody. I think that it's such an interesting thing. And one of the things I like to point out to people when they're like, oh, I'm going to make this comic, and you get it. I've seen a couple people on your show, Andrew, who've been this. My goal is to sell this comic to Netflix. Like, they'll say it like out loud. Like, that's their goal. They want to sell it to a media company.
Plenty who don't say it out loud and they're thinking it too.
Right, sure. That's their whole goal. I like to point out that Brian K. Vaughan is one of the most prolific writers in the comic industry of our generation. He's going to be one of the greats when we look back. Has two, not one, but two failed TV shows. like it doesn't translate all the time, and it's okay that it doesn't translate all the time, right? Sandman was just on the cusp of being canceled. Right, Charlie.
Well, yeah, no, I mean, like, as someone who worked in Hollywood for a long time, you know, I have a script that I wrote in 2003 that has been in perpetual development since 2003, and it's been at different studios. And the amount of money that comes to me as the actual writer of the script is, you know, very small every couple of years to keep that option going. Now, if it was based on a property, the money those creators are getting would be even smaller. So, you know, I think having your show made on Netflix is such like a 10 steps down the road kind of thing. Like, you may get something optioned. And if you get something optioned, don't think that's going to be a lot of money. Like, you know, you're looking at best at like a $15,000 to $20,000 option for 3 years. Like that's at best. And if you do it with a publisher, or if you have other people, you're going to split those costs. You know, you know, if you have other IP, you know, old owners, like, so all of a sudden, maybe that's $5,000 a year, and you think you've made it. It's been optioned by a company that's working with Netflix, and for 3 years you get $5,000, and then they decide to let it go. You know, so like that magic bullet is so hard. And again, like, I've had plenty of meetings on, you know, properties that I've written, you know, and yeah, you don't see any of those as TV shows yet. You haven't seen any announced, and even the announcements in the trade very rarely materialize into something that actually gets made.
Do you have something to say, Andrew, before I continue?
Oh no, I was just gonna say anything that gets to Netflix and gets 10 episodes, God bless it. I mean, I'm super stoked for the One Piece, guys. Super stoked for it. And it's a miracle that we are getting a live action One Piece, considering that it is, and I think I could say this without getting into too much trouble, it's probably hell to have gotten that done.
So I want to give a slight counter to that, to just hear. I remember I sent you once privately, because Charlie and I sometimes talk about the industry privately, just like we're doing now. I sent you the Scott Snyder interview. Did you ever listen to that? From Scott?
Yeah.
So when we talk about his business model, where it's all about my family money is optioning, right? Like, I know he's Scott Snyder, so like he can pull that off versus us. But I remember listening to that and being so fascinated, where this is my like base income. I'm going to make 80,000 this year to be able to, you know, comfortably live. And that's not counting anything I make from DC residuals or anything new I put out for the year. But getting those options were crazy. But he also said he made like 20,000 as a writer at cons, which is crazy. Like you and I being writers, we're like, how is that possible?
Well, and I think what you said at the very beginning of that is he's Scott Snyder, right?
Sure, yeah, of course.
Like when you option one thing, you start here and they start giving you a quote, and technically that's supposed to go up every time if you have good management. So you have your quote and it keeps going up. So the more things you option, the higher they get. And because his name has increased, they don't let those options lapse, right? So like the thing was, like, the first time they may have optioned it for $10,000 for 3 years, but that was 10 years ago, right? And the next time, now he's Scott Snyder who's doing Batman, and now he's Scott Snyder who does it. So those option fees have kept going up and they're stacking. So he has like 3 or 4, and his quote right now is probably sky high. So yeah, it's I think that's a very different. It's the same thing with the comic industry, right? Like there are certain people who can drop a series at Image, and they're going to get 20 issues, and there are 4 of those people, right? Like maybe, right? And like who won't get it canceled? Maybe there's 3. I don't know. Aside from Scott Snyder and Brian K. Vaughan right now, who has a series that goes for 20 issues that you can sort of count on it getting that many issues at an Image. But like but I think for newer creators coming in, to think that there's going to be this life-changing money when your show gets turned into IP, it's not going to happen.
Right.
You may, if you're really lucky, what's going to happen is you're going to get some option fees. It's eventually going to get turned into a show, at which point you're going to have a IP fee. But that IP fee is probably going to be split between you, your publisher, an agent, some other people. And that turns out to be, it's per episode produced. And your quote probably early on is going to be somewhere in the $12,000 to $20,000 range. Right. And so like that's split with all those people. So I think even though like if everything goes well and you get that 10 issue series, if you are a creator who hasn't done this before, who doesn't have a track record, you might get 10,000 per episode that's made, which is kind of depressing when you think about like the big budget on a TV show. Now, if that goes on for season after season, those fees go way up.
Sure.
Like it's the same thing. Like you look at something like Grey's Anatomy, which has been on for like 40 years now. The people who are staff writers in the beginning of that show, who just kind of wrote it out, they're making probably $100,000 to $200,000 per episode minimum as a writer, just as a fee for being there. And they're doing 20 episodes a year or 22 episodes a year. So like but originally they might have been getting that 12. So I just think the economics of thinking that you're going to cash in on this stuff, it's a lottery ticket.
Yeah. I was actually thinking earlier this year, and I was seriously thinking, so I have a few people locally who've gone through the Hallmark and made Hallmark movies. Like I know 3 people locally who has done it. And I was like, if I wrote a comic that was a romantic comedy, I know enough people who could get me the right stuff. And it's such a unique thing that they'd probably do it. But then I thought about exactly what you said about it. If I did a Hallmark movie, even if it got optioned, yeah, that brings a little clout to Travis Gibb, the writer, but it's done that year. So, because it would be a Christmas movie, that's all they want, Hallmark. So they'd air it that one Christmas, and they make so many of them, it doesn't have that longevity. So it's a one and done. Is it worth, the investment of doing that for a one and done, because I know how much these book authors make it. It's like a 10 grand total for the whole thing,
I really think when it comes down to it is you have to start from that place that the studios, that Marvel is not starting at.
Sure.
That the majority of the places, like, write that book you're passionate about. Right. Like if you're trying to game it out and say, what's the best book I can do to do something else with down the road, you're just going to make yourself miserable. You have to be building your career on what's the best comic that's going to make me the happiest when we make this comic. What's the next Granite State Punk that I'm going to do? Aside from Granite State Punk 2, what's the next thing that makes me that happy and that proud? And if you keep putting those things out, it's you're going to win regardless what happens, whether it gets optioned for a little bit, whether it gets turned into a TV show. So like that's where I'm at as someone who was in the studio system for a long time, and I had a movie that almost got shot in Ireland. And by almost got shot, I mean they shot 15 minutes of it. And then the money the production company thought they were going to have fell through. And so I have 15 minutes of a movie I wrote, that's been filmed in another country. And I was flown out for a lot of that. So, it's like, I've seen how close things can get. I've seen how hard it is to do those things. And I've loved being able just in the comic industry to come in and tell the stories I want and find an audience for them. And so for me, obviously I think all of us would love to have that money truck back up.
Sure.
But like you can't count on it.
Yeah, and I think my like me, I care about the comics more than I care about any of that stuff.
Yeah, sure.
In fact, my goal, I actually regret my strategy because my strategy was create a whole bunch of get a whole bunch of trades to go to editors, which I still think is a workable model. But I noticed like as I want to be more, I'm okay with now as I've done this a little bit and played with publishing a little bit. I'm okay with just being a Kickstarter creator. Like there used to be that shunning to it, but that has changed over the years. So now I wish, Chad says nerds. Now I wish that I did a series that I'm going to do this forever. So literally my plan right now is to clear up my schedule because, I plan like a year in advance of 2023, 2024, clear that up. And I'm going to have a book that's going to come out consistently. And it's going to be the book that I'm known for on Kickstarter because that's the book that I'm doing. And it's my ongoing series forever. That's the one that I'm going to be doing forever. Not that I'm not going to do Granite State Punk or Corns of Judas or any of those other stuff, but that's going to be what my Kickstarter name is I'm going to be synonymous on Kickstarter with that. That's your Kickstarter book, like your White Ash,
Yeah, because look, so much of this is branding. Like, and I hate to sort of use like a marketing term, but you need to have something that people know you for. It's the same thing. I think that this is where some of the smaller publishers struggle too, because they can't say we're the publisher that does X, because they're doing all these different creator-owned books, so there's no specific branding there. And if they don't have a hit, you can't say we're the publisher that does Money Shop, right? And then you can use that as your springboard to sell your other books. Or we have Something Is Killing the Children. If you like this from us, you'll like these other books. So you need to have you need to have brands that people can identify you with that you can then use to launch the other things. But as long as people know you for this thing, it makes it so much easier.
And I think you've seen that on on publishers as they do stuff and they don't have that book that they're known for and they struggle, right? They're just, they've come up with a new thing that's cool. And I think it weighs over times. Martin, you can't just be okay being Kickstarter because it is constantly shifting in 10 years might not be a thing. Evolution is the key. I think I think there's some truth in that, but I also think that I don't think Kickstarter's going anywhere. I think we're going to be okay. What else we got? I got 5 minutes and 65 scripts, 65 scripted animated series that I've made. I feel you, Charlie.
Yeah, no, and I think, but there is what Martin says. I do think that you have to sort of bear that in mind. It's the same thing that James was saying in that interview, right? Is you don't want to put all your eggs in one basket.
Right.
Right. I think it's fine to have a basket that's feeding you, that's doing all of these things, but you don't want to ignore every other thing. So like, while I think I kind of agree with you, I think that Kickstarter is going to be around for the long haul because I think, but if not Kickstarter, it's the direct to consumer.
Right.
It's
right.
that the model of going direct to consumer from creator to consumer, I don't think is going to go away. What the permutations are of how you do that, whether it's through your Patreon, whether it's through crowdfunding, whether it is just having your own website, going back to the days of just hosting pre-orders, that's something that's become a real legitimate thing.
Yeah.
And yeah.
I mean, even to go further, and obviously I'm in business, it has become crystal clear in the last 3 years that businesses want to go direct to consumer. And that's something that is a very, very big shift collectively in every business. And, obviously Kickstarter was ahead of the curve on that, but I don't think it came about really till COVID hit. And I think that's a massive shift. And people who adapted early on in 2020 have been rewarded for it.
Hey, Pat, have you been paying attention to what we're talking about?
What the fuck is this? I leave and these guys come in?
Yeah, that's why they were here. Like, I should have told them that you were coming back because they probably wouldn't have come on.
we were just wondering why you hate Kickstarter so much, Pat.
Yeah, why do you hate
that
Kickstarter?
Was kind of the conversation that we were going back and forth. Why you see no future for the platform? Why you're getting ready to get out? As soon as this latest campaign is over.
I'm out, dude. I'm out. Zoop zoop.
Own your IP, own your list. That's a good one. Martin says, Mike Christabel says, direct-to-consumer subscription-based models is the future of comics and medium as a whole. I mean, I think that's the case. I think whoever figures out the digital market is going to be king for a little bit. I think digital market, there's a lot of money there, but it's spread. There's no way. It's like going to a comic store, but nothing's organized, right? Like imagine like even Avengers aren't together. Like when you go to these digital platforms, like it's just, we've got big and so easy to put them up. Like they make it so easy, no vetting, whatever case would be. So it's a Wild West. And so nobody makes any money because of that. And then we put the price tag of digital to the point of you might as well buy the physical. It's a $5 entry, whether you go to comic store or you go to the digital. What else? I'm kind of trying to look at that article again to see if there was something else I wanted to talk to you about, Charlie.
Well, I do think digital. I mean, I've been listening to a lot of conversations also about digital in terms of the evolution going forward. And I think one of the hardest parts is we now have a segmentation of digital. So what Comixology was doing is never going to happen, likely never going to happen again, where all the different companies are under one banner. Because going back to that direct-to-consumer model, Marvel has their, Marvel Unlimited. DC has their own, direct-to-consumer. So those ones are not going to be on a platform. And so it's going to be a little bit like Hulu and Netflix, where there's certain content on one and certain content on the other. But I don't. It's hard because I think collectability is such a big part of the American comics market that you don't have with digital. And I mean, people can go into NFTs and things like that, but I just don't think it's the same kind of tangible collection that appeals to most comic book collectors.
Yeah, I'll second that. I tried like VV with some comic stuff, and it's fun to pick up one or two of them, but it does not feel the same way. And like they obviously, like you can go through a comic book on a virtual level, and it's fun. Like you're in your living room and you could throw the comic on like your floor and then open it up, and it's fun. But like they tried doing variants, and like for me, it's just weird. And I still have like one or two of them. And I enjoy it more of like, I guess, like a trinket. But yeah, like that collectability of it, it's just like, it's foreign. I don't know how to explain it. It's more of like a cool party trick to me to do that. And that's what I think with the NFTs and comics. I think that's the biggest hurdle. And I've been in some serious like debates on this, and just it gets heated. And the NFT bros, I mean, nothing against them, but they go hard.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, the NFT is crazy. They hit me up all the time, and I'm just like, I don't even know what to tell you. It's actually interesting that Martin Pierre is saying Rich Smith's lore is a perfect example of how you can walk through the digital physical line. In fact, that was one of the references in that article specifically, is someone who's figured out that line and how to master that. Absolutely. We're talking about. Let me post that article in the chat. So I think that when we're talking about comics as a whole, this year has been very eye-opening to me, and I feel like an idiot because I've read comics for years. I'm very knowledgeable in the comics industry, but specifically comics and comic stores. Like I have good relationships. That's why I sell so many variant covers. I build these relationships, and I know how to talk that shop, right? But then I get to where I met Richard Fairgraves, like things has really changed for him. That's why I'm so up on him, and why I like him so much is knowing how many books that dude has done. I've never heard of his name before, and it's because it's all in the book market. And then me coming to the reality, because I was like, yeah, Dogman, like I always think of these of one-offs, right? Oh, Dogman's a breakaway hit. Dork Diaries, a breakaway hit. But I've never actually thought, hey, Travis, how many of those breakaway hits are you going to give it credit for before it's like a thing? Right. I always just like put them in subcategories. Like this one's a breakaway, this one, instead of like, no. And the fact that I can look at a shelf at a Barnes and Noble and go, none of these guys would be welcome at a Comic-Con because nobody would know who they are is wild to me. And they're creating the same thing that I am. So getting that reality and what does that mean for the future that we've even segmented ourselves, right? And then not even counting Webtoons. I know Webtoons has, people who are creating comics who I don't know who the hell they are, who make way more than me, who I know and stuff. So we've segmented ourselves into 3 groups very quickly instead of just it is now comics industry. Comic industry has wings that I don't know anything about, which is fascinating to me. And I trying to navigate it with that new knowledge and what does that mean for me in the future and for the comics as a whole in the future. I don't really have a question for that, but thoughts. I'd love to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think even that same kind of segmentation, up until this last year and a half, I would have said Kickstarter was another thing that most people in the direct market would have no idea that that Pat has been running Destiny New York and now has the equivalent of maybe 45, 50 consecutive issues of an independent comic book series, if you put it all together, which outside of Brian K. Vaughan and Monstrous and like 6 other people in the last 10 years, who else has done that, right? Not to blow smoke Pat's way, but like it's the kind of thing that people really weren't thinking about, and now all the companies are trying to come to Kickstarter. So I think there's definitely going to be a wave of legitimacy that's starting, that I hope continues, where there will be more articles about, oh, look, here's another cheeky campaign that's going to break 100K, or whatever it is. Like that's back-to-back books that Pat's made more money on than Marvel made with this graphic novel. So I think you're completely right, Travis, that we a lot of us have blinders on, and I think that's why it's important to try to take those off, talk to as many people as possible, meet as many creators as possible, both on the internet, in Discord, and at conventions, to sort of get a real sense of what the community is.
I mean, I could talk about me, and I'm in a little bit of a different space. So I buy and sell books on eBay, and I'm actually going through diversification right now. So I am taking a step actually back out of Zenoscope, and I'm adding in a bunch of other companies and a bunch of retail packages. So I've actually taken off a bunch of blinders, and I'm looking at Kickstarter, saying, cool, who can I pick up a retail package from? What is, going to be, not the next hit, but what do people want? And I just picked up, the Creepy Pasta book by Sean Barber, and I'm picking up a few other people. Obviously, I picked up stuff from Big Dog Inc. And so obviously, I mean, I'm going through an evolution, and I'm looking for saying, hey, 3 years ago, I would not be looking at certain people. And now I'm looking at a bunch of people that I would never thought, like, and I hate to say this, and it sounds mean and it sounds bad on my part, but I'm clearly, looking at, I guess, even more indie, because I think that's the future. And I think, obviously legitimacy is a thing. And I also just think that talent has evolved. Like, I would never look at a book like Cheeky that Pat would do, but then obviously it's very good, and then it's great. And the fact that it did really well, I think, really shows that things are changing. Hopefully Pat's not angry with me. He can flick me off as a sign, but I would prefer if he didn't.
He can speak his voice. Tell him how you feel about him not appreciating Cheeky.
I'm horrified, I'm pissed. No, that's the thing that I hear frequently, actually, too. Not only on the sales side, but I mean less on the sales side, because I'm stacking chips to the ceiling. Okay,
right.
But on the creative side, I have so many people. It's not even readers, comics creators who I want to support you, but just so you know, this isn't my kind of book. And I'm like, oh, so you are cool with books about like murder and dying, but not books about sex? Like, that's crazy to me. Like, sex is such a more universal thing than killing somebody or wearing spandex, for example, which is somehow against all odds the dominant genre of the entire medium. That's crazy to me. But no, it's for a long time, books like this have been looked down upon and pushed out by Diamond. In my one conversation with Diamond about distributing to them, the guy made it clear: all ages sells, adult books don't sell. And I just think, adult books don't sell because the industry has pushed back, and you him being in the industry has pushed back these adult books for years. The consumers want this. There's just no options. There's one amazing option, CJ. Who else? Anthologies here and there. There's no one else. And I see in the comments, Mr. Tyler, Streamy. Wow, that's a good one. If we do an e-girl book, Steamy is perfect now. It's trade just like this. I'll show you this. Put the ball down. We have Tiki right here. This is how Steamy is going to be a perfect trade paperback. Spock lost action. Oh, it's beautiful. It's beautiful.
Well, and Andrew, I think to piggyback on what you were saying, and you're looking at the quality going up, I think 5 years ago, Kickstarter was a place that a lot of creators went because maybe they couldn't go someplace else. And now you have a lot of us who, I was over helping run Scout for a couple of years. For me, I would rather be in the Kickstarter space than the direct market right now, because I have a lot more control. I can make a lot more money. And I have a direct connection with a fan base in a way that I don't have it through the direct market. Now, that doesn't mean I don't want my books to eventually come out through the direct market, because I think that helps everyone. And I'm really happy to put my books out into the direct market once I've already made back what I need to produce them on Kickstarter, because then, it's going back to what Martin said earlier about, putting all your eggs in one basket, or what, I like to have multiple revenue streams. I love to have Kickstarter as the option for the first adopters, for my most loyal fans. And then I want to have that mass market version, which is the direct market, which, if you go back to publishing, that's the tale as old as time. There's the hardcover version, right? And then there's the mass market paperback, which is what they called it, which would be the cheaper version that would come out a year later. And so the hardcore fans would buy the hardcover, and the ones who were casual fans would wait for the paperback. Or if you were the Uber fan, you'd get both. And I think that's what's happening on Kickstarter right now. Kickstarter is the hardcover version. Then you put the direct market mass paperback version out, and your hardcore fans are still going to get both.
No, absolutely. I agree with all that. I think it's crazy. I'll figure out all these things. One of the things I want to talk about, since we're talking about the industry, I want to talk about the rise of Whatnot. So I hear a lot of creators coming to me, and their goal right now, when they look at the industry, they've lost. I'm not even going to say names, but they've lost faith in a lot of the mid-size companies that are independent right now. And they really love Whatnot because they're looking directly at the sales numbers, right? Because Whatnot is putting them in the direct market, then they're buying them from the direct market, then to sell them on their channel, like they're doing this thing. And it's not. Publishers have been doing that for years, so that's not underhanded at all. Like it's happened throughout time. If you've studied comics and you know. But I also think, and this is a bold statement, and I like Whatnot. So this is not I think Whatnot's really kind of shut down that variant cover market. I think they kind of blew it up, and it went crazy for so quick on Whatnot that they've done so many things to sell and to produce their brand. Even the buying the publishing company, that, I look at that, I was like, that's a bad move. But I can also see if your goal is if you're not worried about a Source One Press or Scout or selling stuff on Whatnot, and your goal is to sell the company, because I think Whatnot's whole goal is to sell the company in a couple of years. That's why they would buy a publishing wing and buy someone like Wesley Snipes, because that now has a variable price. This now could be tremendous. If you're buying IP, it's a Wesley Snipes attached has a number associated to it, whatever Wesley Snipes verse plus movies. So what do you guys think of Whatnot? Do you think it's helpful for the industry? I know it's helping some comic stores stay afloat, but do you think on the creator side it's going to help creators? Because I know a lot of creators who want to jump over there because they want that number. I sold 10,000 copies like they did back in the day, but that 10,000 is a little rough. Sorry, there's a lot there. So,
yeah, I think it could. My favorite example, and I always go back to them because they are who I found to be the most inspiring in my career. I like what Zenescope did. Zenescope looked at what Whatnot is doing and said, yeah, I could just do that myself. And they have their own live streams. They have a whole team that does it, and it's incredibly successful to the point where I watch it and I'm like, how could they possibly keep track of these sales? It's unreal. So if more publishers, small publishers, if more creators can look at what Whatnot is doing and adopt it to themselves, that's the thing where I don't know if they need the platform as much as say Kickstarter has been helpful for creators. It's cool. It's a cool sphere for sure, but I think that it's a bit more adaptable on our end than other platforms are.
I'll add one caveat to that, though, Pat. The component that Whatnot has is, and then this is where Zenescope can shine because they have such a big fan base. Whatnot has that social media building your audience component. So you can build a crowd on Whatnot, and you can build an account, and because there are people who just turn into Whatnot streams and surf them, and you can grow your numbers there the same way people do on Kickstarter. Now, it's not for me because I think, what Whatnot feeds is to do it well. You need to have more content. You need to have the regular shows. You need to be out there, 2 times a week at least. So people start to know, okay, this person does this show and they're going to have exclusive covers. They're going to have this thing. When you're a company like Zenescope, it makes sense. And even makes sense for like something like Scout, where you have a huge inventory that you can go through and you can have shows where you're dropping different things. I think as individual creators, it's harder to make that your identity because you're not going to have enough new content coming in to be able to brand yourself entirely there on Whatnot, right? I mean, with anything, it's about, whereas on Kickstarter, even if you're doing like 10 Kickstarters a year like Pat's going to do, or 12, or however many you're going to be able to do. Yeah, okay. It's still an event each time, right? And I think it's content, it's new content that you're bringing. You're not coming back to Kickstarter with the same things you sold on Tuesday, right? Because that's all you have. So I think it's a harder place for a creator to build a career. Now, you could start, like, if you had a big enough library, you could, like Terry Moore could do it. Terry Moore could start doing Whatnot shows, or someone who has a long history and they have all these issues and they have this original art. So I think the longer you've been around, the easier it is, or the bigger inventory that you have. But I think as a future for creators, I don't know. I think it's a very hard place for individual creators to go to do something.
Good point.
I mean, I know somebody who basically got sort of an exclusive cover, or a store got an exclusive cover, and then he joined the Whatnot show with the store, and he sold $2,000. And he's an indie creator, and we were speaking privately today, talking about something. And so, $2,000 doesn't necessarily change your lifestyle, but if you're a brand new creator or an up and coming creator, I mean, that's a lot of things that you just moved, and a lot of covers you just moved. And so obviously it's getting your name out there. And so, but I don't know if you're a brand new individual creator, you might have to partner with a store that has an exclusive, but it's good for the store. I think it's good for the industry, because anytime a store and teams up with the creator and they can move covers, and then you move 50 or 100 covers, I mean, that's a good thing. And if that creator's getting money and then people are getting that book, I mean, that I think helps Kickstarter. And I think it just leverages the whole thing. But I mean, I've used Whatnot. I enjoy Whatnot. I find it very social. But I also find it a money trap in a lot of ways too, because you can get way out of hand on Whatnot. And I think it's very dangerous. And I think there's actually a lack of education. And I think, but I think it was necessary. And I think, I'll be very honest, I think Whatnot probably saved a lot of people's lives during COVID. I'm willing to put real money on that because it brought social elements to it in a time where we were very isolated as a society. So, I mean, that's how I view Whatnot, is that without a doubt, I'm willing to put real money on that. It probably saved tens of thousands of lives. And that's a big compliment on Whatnot. But what does that mean for the rest of everything? I don't know. But I think I agree. I think they're going to sell some piece of it, if not the whole thing, or they're going to have an IPO.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because it's crazy that Whatnot made such a big splash and done that, and then you think about, like, on the other hand, we just have Frank Miller's company, which is not making a huge splash. You know, a lot of people are already seeing a drop in sales for issue 2. It's Frank Miller, like Frank Miller and Dan Ditko. Like, people still like Dan Dio, like, so it's so interesting. And I think that that's where we're at the industry, right? Where your name doesn't carry as much as it used to because there's so much noise around. It's hard to do it. And I also think the business model of Frank Miller, like, everything's $10, it's a little more prestigious. I think that affects it too. Because I think $10 is a hard selling point in comic stores right now. So it's a huge amount.
Well, and then to go back, I wasn't saying that Whatnot can't work for creators, because I do know a lot of creators who do streams and make money, especially when they have exclusive covers to go with stores. I think it's a great thing for creators to do from a convention as a way to sometimes sell those convention exclusives when the table gets slow, because now, hey, I'm at the convention, so I'm doing a show live from this convention you can't get to. And if you couldn't get here to buy the exclusive, now you can do it on the Whatnot stream. So I think it's a great tool. I just think that, again, with anything that you're doing as a live stream, you have to do it with regularity. And so you have to have the inventory, you have to have the events if you want to make that the thing. Like, so if it's a part of your business model, for sure. But if it's your business model, you need to be, like, going back to what you said, a lot of retailers were doing the Facebook Live sales also during the pandemic. And Whatnot kind of just took that to, made it its own thing. And I think a lot of retailers do both now, whatever works best for them in their store. But those are people, again, with huge inventory. They can have the weekly shows, 2 or 3 times a week, maybe nightly, whatever it takes. If you're a creator, unless you're a creator who has been a publisher for, like, Travis, you could probably do one with some of, the Orange Cone, because you have a large library of different things. Maybe I could start doing that in about 3 years. But I think the output from White Ash, from Clarion, it's been a little bit slower because I'm sort of just focusing in on a couple of things rather than trying to do lots of different lines. And I would need more content before I would try to do a weekly stream of books.
Yeah, I think if they could make it, because I've thought about it myself, but it's consistently like anything. Because of there's a social media platform to it, you need to be consistent to get an audience, or no more than if you're doing a YouTube channel or a Twitter space or any of that stuff. It would be so good if, like, there was if Kickstarter or like something that, like, there was a channel that, like, hey, we invite you on, kind of like the comic experience, but like for Whatnot, where they'll manage it, they get a cut, and you kind of come on and sell your things, but it's a show that they put together, and you just kind of pick a spot over a night. I think that could really work well, and I think if someone ever put that together, I think it could really, really resonate, because people do make money. And when I'm at a store that does a live show or a Whatnot, I make a lot more, because I'll go after the signing, I'll go onto that show for a little bit. I normally get a cut of selling my products. They have no risk because, they're just selling my products, and they take a cut. Everybody's great. Hey, Pat.
Hello, gentlemen. I'm out of here for the night. Thank you for having me. Charlie, Andrew, the Investor Davis. Always good to see you both.
Not good to see you, right?
I mean,
Understand.
I'm used to you by now, man. The face is ingrained into my memory.
Are you going to WonderCon?
No, I don't even know when it is.
It's not next week, the week after, right, Charlie?
The 22nd through the 24th.
The
weekend before. LA, right? What's that?
That's in LA?
It's Anaheim.
Where's that?
Right next to where Disney World is.
No, I mean, what state is that in?
California.
Okay, so, bro, when I say LA, you just gotta say yeah, okay?
Yeah, okay.
I don't deal with this coastal elite bullshit, okay?
So LA is Beverly Hills is technically a separate city than Los Angeles. For sure, yeah. Santa Monica is its own city.
So is Weezer in Beverly Hills a lot?
They all are. They all are.
to me, California is beautiful San Diego and some bullshit. You know.
So I will not see you at WonderCon.
No, I mean,
Not this year.
no WonderCon. I would definitely do an LA show. I just didn't know about it. I have New Orleans this weekend with Zenoscope VIP New Orleans, and then I have in 2 weeks from now, probably while WonderCon's happening, I have goddamn GalaxyCon Richmond.
LA Comic Con, December 2nd through 4th.
I think I'm doing Exotica DC then.
Probably make more money.
I mean, bro, you should do Exotica though. You know, I feel like it would work.
I would dance there all night long.
Beautiful. All right, gentlemen, thank you for having me. And you know what, Travis? It's even better to see you than it is to see these two guys.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that. You don't mean it, but I appreciate that.
Bye, guys. Bye.
But yeah, I'm gonna wrap it up. But I wanted to thank you for that article. It really resonated a lot of stuff, you know. And I agree with you. You know, a lot of people are saying, you know, this is not the greatest year for direct market. You know, you want to figure out what's going on. You're like Diamond's kind of doing stuff. I do know that at Comics Pro, Diamond did address that shipping thing that's going on with them. They did so, which is really good that Diamond's listening, because they have been notoriously known for not listening. So it's really good to hear.
So just like, again, I think it's a really hard time for a new publisher or a new creator to launch a series. Right. I think if, again, you're Scott Snyder, feel free.
Right.
Like, people are going to buy your book. If you already have a name, if people are excited for your books, there's no reason not to put them out right now. But if you're someone who has had a couple of books out, who doesn't have a huge name in the industry, you might want to sort of just wait a little bit if you can afford to, and just see how everything shakes out, what publishers are going to be still around. Because if a couple of publishers drop out, then maybe the market's a little bit less cluttered. It's a little bit easier for you to figure out, which books to order. So
yeah, I was listening to an interview. I'm looking up the guy's name because I've actually never read any of his books. I'm going to try to now. He wrote 5 Ghosts. His name is Frank J. Barbary. Are you familiar with him? No. Here's Matt. I help handle subscription order for large comic chain. Yeah, it's not a great time for the direct market. Yeah, I agree. I mean, I've been happy with my numbers, but I also know what numbers were 2 years ago. So I know I'm doing really well in where the numbers are currently, but not as good as I'd like to on my stuff. But all right, so this guy does 5 Ghosts. He does a couple of series. Let me see if I can figure out a couple more of his series. Maybe you've heard of some of his other stuff. Because I'm going to end on this, and it's an interesting discussion. Here is his. What else has he done? Elixir. He did a book called Elixir. He did Black Market. He did some Solar. A bunch of Violent Love is a big one that he did. Let's see. Broken Worlds. See, none of these books that we've really heard of. Dijon Thorns. But he's done some Avengers. He did Avengers World. He did some Lobo. He did some stuff. And then, like most people in comics, you get to a certain part and like the phone stops ringing, right? It stops going to that next level and doing things. And he went to games, and he's been doing really well. He does Destiny 2. He's been doing. He did some Worlds of Warcraft. He did some other really, really cool stuff. But he says the biggest problem in that it was easy to get in because he has all the writing credit, but it's almost like he didn't do anything, right? The writers for these video games that is such a biggest market, the most entertainment-wise, it's the most profitable market in the industry, and no one knows their names that they write all these things. So it's really interesting, like hearing this guy's heart. Like he's like, I love to write, I want to write forever, but no one knows or cares that I wrote these things. Versus me doing an independent comic and even he mentioned Kickstarter directly, throwing on Kickstarter and 400 people back to me. That means more than being in the end credits of a game that someone skips so they can either replay it again. And that was so crazy, especially when you think of screenwriting. has the same thing, right? You're writing screenplays to probably never get any of them made, right? Because only the one and one and one, and we take comics for granted. I think so many creators take it for granted, and that's why I did a post today that comics are even forgiven if they're late. If a comic comes out 2 weeks late, it's no big deal. It comes out a month late. If it comes out 3 months late, unless you're Kevin Smith and you're 3 months late for that Spider-Man Black Cat, like you're gonna be good. Like you're gonna be able to do your thing come out. Late is better than canceled. I think that comics has this purity that we can create things and we can get feedback and we can put art out in the world at such a faster rate than anybody else. And our comic can be about anything, and we can dictate the time in the comic, right? You can dictate with pacing and paneling and how long it takes someone to read a page to build time and space. Like when you're a good writer and you're building these things out, it's so magical. And I don't know if as many creators appreciate what we have, right? And you don't even have to do it on Kickstarter, do it on Webtoons. You don't even have to print the book even these days if you just want great things. So what do you think about that? Like of these other fields where people are feeling unseen completely? Because even screenplays, now I'm thinking about screenplays being filmed, the director most of the time gets more credit.
Well, as a member of the WGA, I feel that pain. If you go back, like, and part of there's been a power grab by the directors in that medium. If you go back to like the 1930s, the writer used to be the last credit, used to be the most important credit that was in a movie, and then at some point it shifted over to the director. But there's look, I mean, I have worked professionally as a writer for a long time, and outside of the stuff that I've done in comics, had you ever heard any of the things I've done? Had you ever heard of me before you started hearing me in comics? And
no, but that one guy did the other day.
That's true. That's true. But I've made a lot more money doing all of these other things, right?
Right.
And having all of these meetings at pretty much every production company around town. Yes, I've been in Bad Robot. Yes, I've been in Netflix. I've been to all of these places. I've talked with executives. I was at Emblem talking with some people, about a project I'll tell you about later, Travis. All right. But there's I've had conversations with so many people, and it's just so hard. So yeah, it's very frustrating. I'm really glad to be in a place right now where even if there's a fraction of the money, the satisfaction is just off the charts.
Yeah.
So I have a little bit of a different take where I think it's an accessibility thing. And what I mean by that is not like disabled accessibility, but just access to people. Where I can go and shoot somebody a message on Instagram, and a lot of times with indie comics and also self-publishing, a lot of these people are like, "You want to interview me? Yeah, when do you want to do it?" And I think that's like how I feel and how I view it is that, I think people in directors, are protected. I think they have an assistant. I think that things are fielded. And I think that's even with the video game stuff. I think it's all fielded. And I think, if you're writing for Destiny 2 or whatever, game, the publisher of that game, whether it's Microsoft or Activision, or I can't think of any other company off the top of my head, they don't want their writers to talk. Meanwhile, when it's indie comics or voice acting or professional wrestling or indie wrestling, those people want to talk and they're not being gatekept. And I think that's the whole thing. And whether it's my show or this show or any show, really, I mean, these people are able to talk, and that's what I think it comes down to. And so once you get to know somebody, that's why I think it plays out the way it plays.
Yeah.
And I think that's the biggest problem is that, Netflix doesn't want you to talk about your movie, or whatever you're pitching to them. They don't want, because they're terrified that you're going to talk, you might leak something, and then, it's going to screw up their whole thing, and it's the next best thing, and then they lose control. Meanwhile, with an indie comic, you don't, if you talk about it, it's only going to make you money and get your book funded. And that's what I think it is. And that's at least my experience as a podcaster.
No, that's interesting. I actually, even Marvel and DC, once you get to that level, like you can't just take an interview. You have to get them vetted and do all these other things. I know, like once people have been there for a year, they kind of ignore that. but when you get there, you get a list. You can't go on whatever, podcast or whatever to promote your book. But anyone who's making names for this stuff, like a Stephanie Phillips or Liana Kangas, it's because they continue to do interviews, even though their contract says, "Hey, don't do it with this and that," because nobody gets mad at promoting a book. Like, you can't promote it wrong. But thank you guys for coming out tonight and hanging out and just talking comics. I love this industry. I love what I'm doing. I can't wait to show you guys all the cool stuff that we got from this year. I'm so excited to get the game, Charlie. I hear it soon. I'm so excited. Get that very, very soon, and congratulations on Galarian. That's your highest number, right?
It's the most we've raised. I've done bigger backer numbers before, but yes, definitely the most we've raised on Kickstarter.
That's awesome. You got to take down that 100,000 of Pat Chan. You got to take him down. He's getting cocky.
I know.
All right. Well, thank you. If you guys want to say where to find you, that would be cool. And then we'll sign off. So Charlie?
You can always find me at Charles Stickney on Twitter. That's usually where I'm most active and easiest to find.
Andrew?
I'm Pop Anime Comics on all social media unless I owe you money. And in that case, I'm going to quietly walk away as if I broke something in a store.
And I am Travis Gibb. Best place to find me is travisgibb.substack. I like the Substack platform. That's where I share all my news, and you can find all my social media from there. But good night, guys. Thank you guys for watching. All those who are still hanging out. We still got 5 people watching, so it's crazy, even though it's 12:30 a.m. here. So we're going to play us out, and I will touch you guys later.